I'd like to call to order the Whatcom County Council meeting for April 24th, 2018. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Tim Ballou.
Here.
Barbara Brenner.
Here.
Red Brown.
Here.
Barry Buchanan.
Here.
Tyler Bird. Todd Donovan.
Here.
Satpal Sidhu.
Here.
And Tyler Bird is excused for the evening. If you'd all like to rise and join me with the flag salute. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
All right, if I'd like to ask you to please turn off your cell phones, and if you're going to be handing out paperwork to council members, please ensure that you give one copy to the county clerk for office files. First up is some minutes, 3 sets of minutes, committee for the whole for April 10th, special committee of the whole for April 10th, and regular county council meeting for April 10th. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Mr. Donovan, Mr. Donovan moves approval. Ms. Brenner moves for second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Next item up is a presentation from County Executive Jack Lowes to present the State of the County address.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, council members, fellow elected officials, staff members, and citizens. I'm pleased this evening to present this year's State of the County as required by the county charter. Tonight, I'm focusing most of my remarks on our plan for service integration. Over the last few years, I've been asking our county leadership to look for ways to streamline services for our citizens, as it is evident that we must keep abreast of the efficiencies that are available by utilizing technology, since funding is always limited for the addition of staff members. In line with this, we have seen robust information technologies projects proposed, funded, and implemented. I'll talk about how they and other initiatives in progress have begun to move us to many online opportunities for county citizens. With the integration of these toolkits to enhance our employees' efficiencies, it is evident that we need to also improve our soft skills as customer relation experts, as our codes and rules increasingly become more difficult and onerous to understand and to comply with. I've encouraged the land use divisions of our government to design and implement a customer service initiative. I'm pleased to announce tonight that Public Works, Health, Planning Development Services, and Parks have stepped up to the challenge to develop the plan. The plan's mission is to achieve solutions that work for our community with a commitment of accurate, timely, and consistent information, excellent service with integrity and respect. Our customers will benefit by feeling valued and respected from engaging in a positive experience with staff, even within the constraints mandated by legislative direction. Our staff will benefit from increased workflow efficiencies, which should result in greater job satisfaction and less stress. John Ruskin, a 19th century critic and reformer, said, "Quality is never an accident. It is always the result of intelligent effort." I'm pleased that these departments have taken up the challenge to take the many customer service-oriented staff members we have and develop a cohesive organizational strategic plan that ties them all together. Kudos to everyone. I will be involved and supportive as we roll this out in coordination with the installation of our new land records and permit system software in the next year. I intend to keep you abreast of our progress in the coming months and years. Now for some highlights for 2018 regarding the tools we have or are putting in place for the benefit of our citizens and staff. I find the list quite remarkable and impressive, and I'd like to thank the council and all staff members for being supportive of these major projects. First, we continue to invest in cybersecurity projects and take steps to enhance our protection of our citizen data and to improve our recovery capabilities in the event of an attack. A new network firewall has been installed, and a replacement of our 3-year-old network storage system is being planned. Also, we've installed, and these are somewhat in random order, so bear with me as I articulate them, A new case management system was implemented in Superior Court this past year, streamlining the overall process for both the staff and the customers. We also have upgrades planned to the audio-visual systems in our Superior and District courtrooms that are planned to accommodate remote access for pretrial work when inmates are in Yakima due to the limited space in our jail. Also, as you've noticed in the past weeks, we've installed a new audio-visual system in the council chambers, and I'm hopeful that you're very pleased with the results of the work that was accomplished in here. Also, a significant project in the assessor's office is underway, converting maps to digital records to provide online interactive mapping applications so that staff and our customers can quickly access parcel-based information. As already mentioned, our largest active project is a new permit system for land management activities involving planning, public works, health, also inclusive of the assessor's office and the auditor's office. Our first piece of the new permit system is an electronic plan review software which will allow staff, business partners, and citizens to use electronic markups to add efficiencies to the review process. On a totally different front, a new regional electronic care records software system for emergency medical services is currently being deployed. The software will allow EMS responders across the county to integrate services with each other, and from my point of view is with the hospitals, giving immediate access to the physicians to the situation on the ground with individual patients. Also, the county website continues to be a key interface with citizens as we plan and advance this platform with additional information and applications. A few notable enhancements include the Health Department's food safety inspection reports, a new public records request form, and through the website and technology, planning and development services is using Microsoft Skype to perform virtual inspections for routine types of permits. When it comes to the auditor's office, we've installed a new ballot tabulation system and are currently installing a new ballot verification system. The new systems streamline ballot design, scanning, verification, and tabulation processes. Ballot processing time is already reduced by 1/2 to 2/3. The reduction in staff time will have a direct impact on the election costs borne by the districts and the taxpayers. And finally, the district court probation now has a text message reminder program that has significantly increased attendance at required hearings by participants. Also, a cloud-based case management system has allowed probation officers to meet with clients throughout the county closer to where they live and work, resulting in more positive outcomes. Throughout the organization, each of these projects has either increased efficiencies internally or externally. I'm excited that we are taking on the challenge of working smarter for our citizens. I'd like to especially thank our technology team led by Perry Rice for their dedication and commitment to bring each of these challenging projects to fruition. I'd be remiss if I didn't take some time to acknowledge some other accomplishments throughout the organization and to comment on our financial health. First, we're financially healthy. Revenues are stable, and our operational expenses are within appropriations approved by council. All labor contracts are settled, our workforce is stable, even while we're experiencing an increase in turnover due to a healthy economy and many retirements. The one primary outstanding challenge is the major capital replacement program, most significantly our deteriorating jail and the challenges related to the exterior of the courthouse. I commend the council for being financially supportive of increasing our facility staff and providing space for them for our operational needs. They will have projects online this year to commence the multi-year program of improvements for these buildings, while also building a new 32-bed triage facility funded primarily by state dollars. Speaking of our obligation and desire to attend to the social issues that many are struggling with, I'm pleased we have implemented a drug take-back program, have increased funding of about $700,000 per year for homeless issues, and have an increased focus on the opioid addiction crisis. It's my belief that our health department is doing a great job in providing for the management of these services for our citizens. Realize this was going to be quite as long as it was.
5 pages.
I'm getting there, though. We'll go on to the home stretch here, all right? As mentioned, Parks and Public Works are incorporating their customer service initiatives while striving to complete their capital plans and projects. From Glacier to Point Roberts, we are improving parks and roads and bridges and trails. We have a commitment for the full maintenance of our existing inventory of assets, and these departments are taking their responsibilities seriously. PDS and Environmental Health are implementing their customer service initiatives while issuing permits for wells, thank you, the state legislature, septic systems, and critical area delineations and building permits. We're in an active building cycle, and these departments are doing well. The criminal justice departments work well together. As our soon-to-be retired long-standing prosecutor Dave McEachran says, we seem to never be lacking for business. I would like to publicly thank the prosecutor for his 46 years of service and for his role in the spirit of cooperation our county experiences among the offices of the prosecutor, sheriff, public defender, and the courts. We have big issues to deal with, including incarceration prevention, and I'm confident we will make continued progress this year. The Sheriff's Office, in cooperation with the Health Department, has trained all deputies to intervene in situations where people are undergoing mental health and/or substance abuse crisis. A specialist position has been established to deal with the most difficult cases to leverage planned improvements in the availability and quality of mental health and substance abuse services. Additionally, all deputies are issued and trained in the use of naloxone, which can reverse the effects of an opioid overdose, and it saves lives. Other service integration highlights from law enforcement include engagement in the planning for the triage center to ensure to the extent feasible, they comport with the needs of law enforcement and are viable for diverting persons in appropriate cases from the criminal justice to the mental health substance abuse treatment. The sheriff streamlining the process for offenders in the out-of-custody jail work crews where appropriate. As an alternative to a jail bed day, offenders may report to the jail work center and are assigned to work crews that perform valuable services for our Parks Department. Over the next year, the Sheriff's Office will work with other county departments and the fire departments and districts on joint solutions, as well as models for cost sharing for a better radio communication system in the county, following a consultant's report that confirmed the inadequacies of the county's current system. And lastly, working cooperatively with other county departments on emergency preparedness, including planning, exercises, and public action, education, the sheriff is going to help ensure effective response and timely mitigation of either natural or man-made disasters that might threaten our community. In closing, I'd like to thank our engaged staff, citizens, and the council for the ongoing enthusiasm, intelligence, and support while we negotiate our programs and make decisions about our collective future for Whatcom County. Thank you for allowing me to present the State of the County remarks tonight, and I look forward to a year of growth and continuing momentum on many fronts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Executive. Next up is public hearings. In this case, all audience members who've signed up in the back of the room prior to the beginning of our meeting will be called first and are asked to form a line behind the signs on either side of the chambers. If you're unable to sign up before the meeting, you'll be given an opportunity to address the council once we've gotten through all the folks listed on the hearing sheets. Each speaker should state his or her name for the record and will be given 3 minutes to address the council. Council staff will keep track of the time limits and we'll let you know if you have when you have 30 seconds left to wrap up your comments. When a large group of individuals supports the same position on an issue, we encourage the selection of 1 or 2 representatives to speak on behalf of the entire group. We have one person signed up for the sale of county surplus property, and I think it's Anton Kazuza? Okay, so you want the open public session? Okay. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on the resolution authorising the sale of Whatcom County surplus property? Okay, so seeing none, is there a staff report? Sorry, we'll close the open public session. Is there a staff report? No staff report. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Mr. Donovan moves approval. Ms. Brenner seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes 6-0 with Mr. Bird excused. Next item up is the open public session. During the open session, audience members may have up to 3 minutes to address the council on any issue relevant to county business. Before beginning to comment, please state your name and topic of interest for the record. If your last name is something other than Smith or Jones, please spell it for the record, and please make sure to speak into the microphone. Please stand behind the signs located on the aisles as a courtesy to other speakers. Thank you for your cooperation. And Anton, I think you'd be first if you... Okay. If there's anybody else who wishes to speak, please line up.
Roger Olmskar, land use consultant. And again, thank you for letting me speak this morning. I appreciate that. I handed out that attachment A, that proposed amendment, and we had some discussion about that. And I'm really somewhat disappointed that the staff behind me was not willing to work on that. I know you're probably going to introduce it tonight for a hearing in 2 weeks, but the staff has got, the legal staff, planning and health department, they've got 5 working days to come up with a solution for that issue. And if Mr. Caruza, if it isn't changed, he may have to let his current application die and wait a year or 2 and start over again. I don't think that's really fair. And I think that the suggestion I'm making, it would not just benefit him or his family, but a lot of other people too, because it applies to every buildable legal lot in the county. Right now, the rule that I'm talking about says the existing public water system has a service area boundary, etc., which includes the property of the applicant, period. If that's the case, you have to go to the Water Association and apply. And they can say, you've got to hook up, you've got to pay the piper. And then, as Ms. Brenner pointed out, in this case, 1,400 feet of 8-inch pipe amounts to whether you hire all the engineers and wetland consultants and flag people and the construction company, you're up to about $170,000 for that 1,400 feet. That's a little over $1 a lineal foot. It also translates into about $56,000 per house to hook onto water when there are already 2 good wells on the property. So it's really unfair to put someone in that situation when the nearest water main is 1,400 feet away. So I urge you to give some thought to that, and perhaps I'd like to see you direct the staff to come up with a solution. Now, my language in here is not the best, but you have legal help, you have planning and health department, and Mr. Wolper said that there was a proposal in the works, but frankly, we may not see that for a year or 2. Who knows? And I asked after that discussion if he would send me a copy of that.
30 seconds,
pages.
please.
He said, no, it's not for public release. So we're just sort of left out in the cold. So I urge you to think about that. And I think if you directed the staff to come up with a better language than I have in attachment A, and I delivered copies of the full package to your office today and to the executive office and to the planning department and to the health department. So thank you.
Mr. Chair. Roger, Mr. Elmskar, I have a quick question. When you stated that Mr. Cruza has to abandon his application.
Well, he's
can you
applied for a boundary line adjustment to rearrange the boundary lines,
Okay.
and those applications have a time period.
Okay.
And if this isn't settled, he's not about to commit to spend that kind of money to bring water to 3 houses. So
Didn't we talk about reasonable cost just earlier today?
that this regulation I read ignores that concept completely, and that's one thing that upsets me about it. You know, if you look at, there was discussion today about the county's coordinated water system plan. It's 100 and some pages. I've looked at most of it, and there's a section in there that talks about reasonable and timely and reasonable service. And the idea is that if an individual can't get that from the water association, then you can go ahead and use a well.
Okay.
And
Okay,
yet
I
in this
get that.
ordinance,
I
that's
get-
ignored completely.
Got it, thank you. Mr. Personius, can you please address that if there are more people like that in that limbo, that we are changing the rules and they have a deadline, how we are going to deal with it? It may not be just Mr. Cruz, or maybe there are a lot of other people.
I'm not aware of any other ones. Boundary line adjustments don't require water per se, so I'm not, we can discuss with him his
Could you
particular
please
situation.
see that?
And I think that was part of the point, I think, of the conversation was let's bring in the purveyors and have that comprehensive conversation about how.
And the reasonableness, we will discuss that next time.
Right,
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Kathy Sable, citizen. I wanted to discuss some of the things you had in committee today in discussion, some of the things I heard. I've been going to the WIRA ones, you know, the Watershed Management Board, the team, the planning unit, the surface water working sessions. And the reason I think you're working on this resolution, this is what I've heard, is public raised the question about the surface water working session approving the new process flow which you're having that resolution. And I think that's part of why it's here at the council. That's my impression. But what I gave you is what it was in 2005. And I think the reason you're getting so many questions on the role of the planning unit is it has changed a lot in 13 years. And there is major concerns over its role representing the only big group of stakeholders that use water. The WIRA One website was down today, or I would have tried to get you copies of this. This was handed out in January at the Watershed Management Board, and the planning unit pretty much isn't there, or it's very minimal participation. This is the drainage area management. So I keep hearing there's the ongoing process for water issue resolution, and then there's the 6091, which is the process flow you saw that is at least for 1 year. So I would urge you on that resolution, if you cannot resolve the ongoing planet unit role, that you at least separate 6091 and say, yeah, this is what we're doing for 6091, and we will resolve quickly what the ongoing role is for water issues that the planning unit does and all the other groups, because it's a lot of groups. There's a lot of flow back and forth. I appreciate what your planning department's doing. They're very helpful, and expertise is useful and transparent to the public. They are helping us understand. But if you can't do it quickly, you need to separate them, because you only have 5 months for the planning unit to get the consultant's report and then approve it in October. It then goes to the Watershed Management Team for approval, Watershed Management Board, and finally here, you've got to have the public hearing here. That is very limited time when those boards meet once a month. And if there's any issues at all that come up, and send it back to step 1.
30 seconds, please.
Thank you. I understand the GMA hearing is May 25th, and that is what you're working on with the, I think what Roger was talking about, the 129. So at least you have a little more time with that, 2 more meetings after this. I believe that's what I heard planning say. And I did want to address what was raised this morning about negative views of the government by citizenry. And I'm going, as a citizen, I do not negatively view government. What I've had as an experience sometimes is negative.
Time.
But I have optimism, and I just want you to know that don't have that jump to, we're all negative. Thank you.
Anton Caruza, Laurel Road. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm on a bit of a gag order today from our legal team, but I can discuss some of the issues here. To answer your question, there are other people affected by this. And so our lawsuit is encompassing a whole bunch of problems. And, you know, some of them are be understated to say that they're significant. So solutions need to be done. You've had some solutions proposed by the Planning Commission, and there were some very good, thoughtful solutions to the problem. We were kind of surprised to see that it came down to saying, well, just file a lawsuit in Superior Court. $100,000 lawsuits shouldn't be imposed on people for problems like this. There's got to be a simpler solution. And so that's what we're asking you to do. And so look at all the proposals, look at the weigh the consequences for all the citizens in the county. And like I said, we're not alone. And so we'll keep you informed as things develop. Okay, thank you very much.
Good evening, Mike Kaufman, Kaufman. I'm speaking to you tonight as a taxpayer, as a property owner, both personal and business. And I've been a business owner my whole life. Small business guy, but that's what I've done. And I've taken interest and gone to the road show that the county council is doing on the jail, asking the citizens for their input on it. And Thursday, I attended the 4-hour session that the trial of the judges and the major players in our judicial system were there speaking with the consultant that was hired, working on pre-trial, how to release inmates pre-trial. And as I sat there, Councilman Donovan was there for a brief while, you know, knowing business talk and so on. Towards the end of the conversation, really what I noticed was, in my opinion, that the judges and the people there were talking business. It's like, well, we got to get these numbers together, and, you know, we're really busy, and, you know, who's going to do this, and where are they coming from? And, you know, maybe we should have some staff, and that, you know, and then they were wrestling with time to implement these things. And the consultant was suggesting that, you know, be patient. This is going to take some time to implement. And I was realizing really that these are lawyers and judges and people that work within this framework. And they have very busy days, and they are very expensive people. And that I, as a taxpayer, at the end of it, was able to ask a question of the consultant and about dollar costs. And I said, so, you know, for every dollar we invest in this, I would think there would be X amount of dollars coming back our way with save time for the courts, reducing the need for more beds in the jail, the whole litany of things that this involves. And the consultant said, well, we don't have a hard, fast number, but yes,
30 seconds,
it's big.
please.
And the ripple effect to the families and to the lives that are affected and to productivity and everything associated with this whole thing is huge. And so I was, just from my own sake, throw money at it. If it takes 100,000 or 200, I think every one of those people there should have a consultant or at least a secretary doing this background work. I certainly think that there should be an independent forensic accountant looking at these numbers.
Time.
So we have an independent, true number at the end of the day. Please, step forward. They don't know how to ask the business questions and ask for money. And I would see for it if you could go in there and spend the money, because the result will be good in the end. Thank you. My name's Chris Lilly. I'm with Whisper Lakes Developments, which is a proposed subdivision in Birch Bay. There's a lot of information to this, so I'm going to go fairly quickly through this. And then Dwayne, my partner, Dwayne Engelsman, is going to pick up where I leave off. Whisper Lakes is a proposed 145-unit subdivision of moderately priced homes in Birch Bay. Whatcom County reviewed and approved our preliminary long plat in February 2016, and all permits except sewer and water are now in hand. One issue involving the conditions for approval of a sewer easement has arisen that threatens the ability to proceed with the project. In 2011, our civil engineering company, APC Engineering, made a recommendation to Mike McFarland for the best route for our sewer line. It's attached to what we gave out. Our proposal was to join our new sewer line onto the existing one in Bay Horizon Park. To do this, we proposed replacing at our own expense the existing 67-year-old line currently servicing both the park and the private homes on Titan Terrace, with a larger line built to today's standards. We enclose a letter written by Mike to APC Engineering on June 14, 2012, in which Mike says the line in question is not owned by the district, but refers to it as our existing line. Mike goes on to describe the legal, bureaucratic, and physical process to make this all happen. In late 2015, the district requested that the sewer route be changed to go directly north from our plat to Alderson Road and fitting with their OCP. In the interest of expediency and getting to the hearing examiner, we agreed to do this change. There are several significant problems with this route, however. First, it goes right through a major wetland and winter stream. To get gravity feed, we need to cut through at a depth of up to 20 feet. Ryan Erickson, the county's natural resources supervisor, told us he would not like to go through these critical areas. Secondly, it requires crossing 4 private properties. The 2 property owners necessary for this route have recently indicated they will not agree to providing an easement to the sewer line, so condemnation would have to be undertaken by either the county or the district. So if condemnation is successful, this route will require full wetlands delineation, approvals from the Army Corps of Engineers, State Environmental Protection Agency, Department of Ecology, the county, and the district. We estimate this will add at least 6 more months of delays to the project. So we revisited the route through Bay Horizon Park that the county had previously been in favor of. The first thing we did was have the county's sewer line in Bay Horizon Park scoped by Bayside Service in August of 2016.
30 seconds, please.
14 areas of concern were identified. The report is with you. The estimated cost to replace this line is $180,000. That's with you as well. Over the course of 2016 and 17, the county provided a proposed easement that would allow installation of the sewer line and the right to maintain the lines once transferred by the developer to the district. In preparing the easements, one big problem arose last fall that it was brought the entire development to a halt for the past 5 months. The county's easement is subject to the restrictions in the deed that conveyed the Bay Horizon property from the United States Department of
Time.
Defense in the 1980s, previously known as the Blaine Air Force Radar Base.
Dwayne Engelsman, and I'm also one of the owners of Whisper Lakes Development. So we have, where did Chris leave off here? With respect to this revisionary easement, Birch Bay Water and Sewer basically is not prepared to accept the easement as all the engineers and lawyers have written it because of the potential revisionary clause. That can only happen if in the event of a war or if Whatcom County stops using the property as a park. You guys have the control over whether that property is used as a park. I think you're going to continue using it, in which case the revisionary clause would never come into effect. We're basically up against a wall at this time. We've tried with the GSA. They've given us approval. National Parks has given us approval. Whatcom County is approving the sewer line, and Birch Bay Water and Sewer is also in favor of this. But we've got this revisionary clause that we can't seem to get around. We need the county's help in solving this. We did discover last week that in 1989, there was a water line that also runs through the exact same property, and the county did sign a easement that turned over the water line to the Birch Bay Water and Sewer District. So my question is, why is the sewer line so much different than the water line? If somebody could explain that. This project is going to bring 145 desperately needed, affordable new homes to Birch Bay. The district's going to get approximately $1.5 million in development fees. The county's going to receive $652,000 in building permit fees. And all of Whatcom County will benefit from the approximate $32 million that we're going to spend on building homes in on the subdivision. We would really appreciate your consideration in solving this clause and this easement that we have to get done in order to bring this project forward.
Brenner, and then, Ms. Brenner, then Mr. Dolan.
Mr. Personius, I have a question for you. I don't have a question for you. Well, I know, but I want to ask my question first. My question is, I'm not an expert on this, but it sounds like it's a planning department issue. It's not? It's Parks Department. Well, I mean, I don't like kind of sitting here not being able to understand what's appropriate and what's allowed.
Mr. Chair, may I make my comment, please?
Mr. Lyles, please.
I got a request for a meeting from these folks last Friday, and I'm sorry I haven't responded to them, but I did give Dan Gibson, the civil prosecuting attorney, a call on it, and I've requested that he work with Liz Gallery, who is the Parks Department rep through the prosecuting attorney, to give me a legal opinion of our ability to waive the rights with it. We took the property owner with restrictions, and typically when those restrictions come, they need to follow the rules. Now, the first time I've heard about an exception that happened in the 80s, I know nothing about that, but just to let you know, sir, is that your note and request hasn't gone unheard. It's just one of those things that we have a legal process to see whether we can get around. There hasn't been any objections from the county to making it through, but the district is not willing to follow the restrictions that we obligated ourselves to when we originally took the park. It's complicated. I'm more than happy to give you a report in a couple weeks. I don't have one tonight because I don't know what the attorneys have reported on. Thank you for allowing me to comment.
Donovan.
That cleared some. I was just trying to figure out on the map. So the park we're talking about, did we get that from the federal government? That's where the old radio tower is? Yeah, that's where the old radio tower is. Like here?
So it's, the radio tower is
Okay.
right through here. So if you follow the white line, that's our sewer.
White dotted line?
The white dotted line.
It goes across Whatcom County Parks property that we got from the federal government with some encumbrances on what we could do with it.
Correct. And
But the federal government sounds like it now is okay with it.
there is a revisionary clause that states, in the event of a war,
Well, this isn't a war.
and first of all, do they really need that property in the war? And secondly, even in a war, I would think anybody occupying that property is gonna need water and sewer.
Yeah, but this isn't about a war, so.
But this,
Exactly, it's about a sewer line, right? So the existing sewer line is 67 years old, and according to Dan Isis from Birch Bay Water and Sewer, he says that within 10 years, there's gonna be major work required to that line regardless, and from what we can determine, Whatcom County actually owns that line. Birch Bay Water and Sewer is not taking any ownership of the sewer line.
Okay.
So Whatcom County at some point is gonna have to step up to the table and do some major repairs to the existing line. I have the video if you ever want to see
So
it.
Dan says that it is a county decision.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Questions?
No, but this helps.
Yeah, I was trying to find it on Google Earth. I will make a couple of comments. One is, first off, I'm not aware that the county has ever engaged in condemnation. Can anybody contradict that?
Don't.
So, I know maybe that's something you're accustomed to doing where you're from, but the county does not engage in condemnation of properties to provide sewer lines. So, while I'm not sure what other jurisdictions you've worked in, but Whatcom County does not condemn land to put in private sewer
I've never
lines.
been through condemnation process. According to our lawyers, they're telling us that we cannot start the condemnation. It has to be either the public utility or Whatcom
Okay,
County.
but I'm just letting you know, historically, this county has never done that.
Okay.
So I would not consider that to be an option. Sewer versus water. I think there is an instinctive difference. If a water line breaks and leaks everywhere, it's just water. If a sewer line breaks, it's leaking a hazardous substance. That being said, the only other thing I'd maybe suggest to staff is if there is an issue about us, the county being asked to assume a liability in order for you to complete the project, then maybe there is a calculation to work out what that liability is in a dollar terms in today's dollars, and we work out some sort of an amount to compensate. That's the only other thing I can add to what Mr. Lowes has already said. Ms. Brenner?
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand this. You want the county to do condemnation?
Birch Bay Water and Sewer or the county. Apparently, our lawyer advises us that we cannot start the condemnation.
No, I get it. It's just, we have never done condemnation. I don't believe in it, so I wouldn't support that. So if you can find another way, I'm interested, but not condemnation.
That is if we have to go north through four different property owners. If we go through Camp Horizon, there's no condemnation.
Okay.
Everybody's in agreement.
Okay, well,
Okay.
that's what I thought you were
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Okay,
They want to go this way.
yeah,
That would be the combination.
I think it's pretty obvious, and I support the broken line,
Thank you.
not the other one.
Thank you.
All right. Next up.
Good evening, Council. My name is Josh Summers. That's S-U-M-M-E-R-S, and I work for the Phillips 66 Ferndale Refinery. I just wanted to make a few comments related to the resolution introduced by Mr. Donovan related to changes to the Whatcom County Code about permitting. First, we're happy to see that the Council is seemingly moving towards clarification and specificity as it relates to existing laws. For example, the SEPA language appears to expand and further clarify existing state law, which is ultimately a good thing. We did, however, have a few concerns related to the other language, particularly as it relates to conditional use permits and mitigation. A quick note on permits. Permits are important to us. They enable us to make improvements to infrastructure that make us more efficient, agile to the market, reliable, and environmentally sound. Did you know that we, the Ferndale Refinery, were one of 5 refineries this year that are ENERGY STAR rated? That means that the Ferndale Refinery is leading the United States and, in many regards, the world in terms of energy efficiency, and permits really pave the way for that to happen. Going back to the language, we're looking for clarification on the exact criteria that would be used to consider conditional use permits. The language directing changes is somewhat vague, so that it's difficult for us to determine how these changes will ultimately impact our business. We're also looking for clarification on the mitigation measures to be implemented related to master site planning. I did, however, see the process recommendations added to the resolution today during the committee meeting, and I just wanted to say thank you for adding transparency to the process. That's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Brady?
Council, I'm Pam Brady, B-R-A-D-Y, on behalf of my employer BP. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. We also, we have just submitted written comments just prior to this meeting, but wanted to express some concerns that we have as well about the draft resolution 2018-76B that was discussed during Committee of the Whole today relating to major development permits in the Cherry Point UGA. BP is similarly concerned about the lack of specificity with respect to the county's proposed increased discretion for permitting. We are particularly challenged to make assessments in this resolution regarding the identified conditional use permits in the absence of standards of understanding what conditional uses will apply to this issuance. And we specifically request clarity as to the council's direction as to what kind of standards and conditions would be required to be met for conditional use. In addition, we are concerned with proposed language in 1B, which states, as to the purpose, to ensure the project will cause no significant adverse effects to the shoreline, to the environment, and to air emissions. Air emissions in particular are currently regulated by the State Department of Ecology and the Northwest Clean Air Agencies. They have delegated state authority to review stationary source permits, And we are concerned that the county is potentially seeking to regulate in this area, and concerned that it is already covered by another regulatory framework by an agency which has the special technical and regulatory expertise in this complex area of air emissions. Furthermore, we request clarification by the county regarding intent to the words of impacts to the environment. In SEPA, they refer to the environment a little more narrowly, either built environment or economic environment, so we ask for more clarification there to align with SEPA. And finally, we have some concerns regarding the detail and definition in the county's Section 2D, where they've indicated bonding and insurance requirements. We think that as written, it's broad and probably needs to be more narrowly defined to consider existing financial obligations that exist under regulatory frameworks, and also consider a permit applicant's
30 seconds, please.
utilization of self-insurance. So thank you very much, and we look forward to working with you further and with staff on this. Thanks.
Thank you. If anybody else would like to speak on the open session, please line up, or because we're about to close it.
John Campbell. On the issue of affordable housing, homelessness, my stepson has been renting a studio apartment here in Bellingham for, I think, the past 5 years. His last lease agreement, his rent increased from $625 to $750. His newest lease agreement, a 6-month coming up, has increased to $825 for a studio apartment here in Bellingham. So on the issue of affordable housing, homelessness, this is a trend that I think the issue of homelessness is not going to go away anytime soon, and it's probably only going to get worse. The other thing I wanted to mention, this Saturday, there's a homeless summit at the Food Co-op Bakery Conference Room. If you would like to maybe meet some of your homeless neighbors and break bread, and if you have any extra socks or sleeping bags, hoodies, bring them along. They could always use them. Thank you.
Again, if you wish to speak, please line up.
Hi, my name is Kathy McDevitt. That's Kathy with a K, and McDevitt is McDevitt. First of all, I want to start out with something very positive. Last week, I called the Parks Division in the county regarding some furniture that was strangely placed in a beach access, and it wasn't going anywhere. It was a large couch. And so I was met with a very congenial, very gracious, very attentive reception, and the couch was gone by 2 days later, so thank you very much. The parks person was, she said she was new, and she asked me for specifics. She was very thorough about finding out where it was and what it was doing there, and we don't know, but anyway, it was quite the eyesore. And then I wanted to bring up, although we may not be in the mood for this yet, July is coming, and I just happened to be thinking about that because I'm involved in some activities for the summer. I found last year, much to the horror that I had imagined, a fortunately extinguished sky lantern in my front yard the next day after the 4th of July. I live in Birch Bay. Now, I have a particular reason for being very frightened of those. I have a wetlands area right behind my back fence with some of the last beautiful trees left on Sunset Drive. Last year, or the year before, my neighbor's garage caught on fire, and so they cut down the 2 trees that were on their property. Now, really, I love those trees, and until they fall and kill me, I will continue to love them, but I do not want them to catch fire. And I'm begging you. I went to the Lummi administration office. I complained about them selling the sky lanterns. They said, well, they also are being sold on Meridian, which is not in the reservation. So I got nowhere, and
30 seconds, please.
I gave up. I have fire insurance. I decided that there's nothing I can do. But the wind doesn't always blow over the bay. It blows other ways, too. And I watch, and I watch, and I just really am sorry that I bought a house in Birch Bay that may burn down someday because there is no control of fireworks in this county, really, seriously. There are many conflicting rules. I'm not surprised that people are quite confused, and I really beg of you to think about, especially those very, very seriously dangerous sky lanterns. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Next item up is...
Carol wanted to speak, Rudd. Carol.
Oh, sorry. Please come down, and if there's anybody else who wishes to speak, please line up now.
Just Carol Perry, Whatcom County. Just wanted to speak about the process statement that you were talking about, that remember last 2 weeks ago, I brought to your mind the planning unit coming to you at the surface water. You invited them back 2 or 3 times, and the good work that was done there. And today you discussed the process. It starts with the staff team, the planning unit, the management team, the watershed management board, and on up to you folks as far as the process in 3 minutes, I can't tell you what I have observed since 2013 because I have gone to all these meetings. But there is a problem with that agreement. It was agreed to by the planning unit and the surface water and all the different entities. But there's a lot of pressure right now because everybody knows this, it's got to be done quickly. And even people on the planning unit, although they know that there's some problems with that process, they want to get the work done too. So they're agreeing to it. However, I just want you to know that before 6091 was passed, at a meeting of the management team, most of the discussion was how they could become leaders and in the watershed planning process. What I'm saying is there's 2 rails going in the county. That's why it's so confusing. That's why you, Councilman Sadhu, put your finger on the fact who's in authority. There's been a lot of confusion with the staff even about the planning unit and what the law is. And so even though this may go on, and I hope the planning unit tomorrow night will discuss it and iron it out, there is some real problems. I went to the state auditor's
30 seconds, please.
thing about the joint board in 2013, and they said, there's some problems here. The law prescribes how the planning is supposed to go, and you folks invited the planning unit back, and you were making progress before 6091. 6091 is just bringing all this to the surface. Thank you for your time.
you. Is there anybody else? Seeing none, we're closing the open public session, and now on to finance. Mr. Sadhu.
All right, we had a meeting of the Finance and Administrative Services Committee meeting today, and these are the items. The first item is a request approval for county executive to have the sheriff's office purchase a satellite communication system for the communication van as a result of RFP 18-21 from vendor TaxSat Networks, Inc. in the amount of $54,999, AB 2018-135. It received a vote of 3-0. I move approval.
So we have a motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Bird excused.
The next item is request approval for the county executive to enter into an interlocal cooperative purchasing agreement with Jefferson County to utilize Jefferson County's competitively bid contracts for purchase of supplies, goods, services, and equipment per RCW Chapter 39.34, AB 2018-136, and it received a vote of 3-0, and I so move.
There's a motion on the floor. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Bird excused. Next item up was an item from Finance, which was a resolution recognising the roles and duties of Whatcom County, the Wairau Planning Unit, and the Wairau initiating governments regarding water resource planning under RCW 9082 and ESSB 6091. And in this case, we were talking about, we talked about this in committee, and it was held in committee. Back to Finance.
Okay. The next item is ordinance amending ordinance number 2014-081, establishment of Agate Heights Estate Bay Lane Stormwater Improvement Fund and establishment of a project-based budget for Agate Heights Estate Bay Lane stormwater improvements for a second time to add $528,219 of the expenditure authority for a total amended project budget amount of $1,308,219. AB 2018-126. This received a 3-0 vote, and I so move for approval.
It's been moved for approval. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Tim Baloo,
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Tim Baloo,
Yes.
Barbara Brenner,
Yes.
Red Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Todd Donovan,
Yes.
Satpal Sidhu,
Yes.
Passes 6-0 with Mr. Bird excused.
Okay, the next item is ordinance amending the Whatcom County budget sixth request in the amount of $2,836,591, AB 2018-127. It received a 3-0 vote in the committee, and I so move approval.
So we have a motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Barbara Brenner,
Yes.
Red Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Todd Donovan,
Yes.
Satpal Sidhu,
Yes.
Tim Baloo,
Yes.
Passes 6-0 with Mr. Bird excused.
The next item is resolution amending the 2018 Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District and Subzones budget, second request in the amount of $750,000. Council acting as the Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District Board of Supervisors, AB 2018-128. And this received 3-0 vote in the committee, and I so move for approval.
That's been moved for approval. Any discussion? In this case, the council will be voting as the Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District Board of Supervisors. If the clerk would please call the roll.
Red Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Todd Donovan, Satpal Sidhu,
Yes.
Tim Baloo,
Yes.
Barbara Brenner,
Yes.
Passes 6-0 with Mr. Bird excused. Then from the Special Committee of the Whole, we had a resolution requesting the county executive to direct staff to draft major proposed legislation related to processing and approval of major project permits in the Cherry Point urban growth area. In this case, we are using the orange substitute version, which had the addition of staff's recommendations at the end. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Mr. Donovan approves. Mr. Buchanan seconds. Any discussion? Ms. Brenner?
I believe that this goes way further than is our charge, but also I think it's going to have a very negative effect on the very good industries out of Cherry Point. And you can say all you want that we love these guys, we don't want them to leave, but you keep making more and more resolutions and ordinances and other things that it makes them look like they're punitive. They seem punitive to me, so I'm not supporting it.
Mr. Donovan?
I guess some of the background here, and I appreciate the comments we got from the representatives of BP and P66, because there is stuff that requires more specification and clarity here, and I think what we're trying to do is get a process going on that where we're giving staff some sideboards based on what we've got out of that Cascadia Law report. But this is a way to try to move beyond these interim ordinances that are prohibiting the issuance of any permits to come up with some kind of process where council feels there's more safeguards on major project permits that might be issued out there. And I don't know what the outcome of this project is going to be after staff gets it and gives it to us and we give it to the Planning Commission. It goes through SEPA review. But this is a way to try to talk about the permitting process, not prohibiting uses of any particular kind. And I hope this gets that process going. So that's why I'm proposing it.
Mr. Sadhu and then Ms. Brenner.
I agree with Mr. Donovan, but one point I want to raise that it started with Cherry Point and major projects, but major project can be outside of Cherry Point too. I mean, there is no limit on that somebody can propose another major project which is not in Cherry Point. So, I mean, this is the starting of the process. It's a learning curve for all of us as well. And the other thing I would like to say that we would welcome, or at least I can say for my part, we would welcome more comments and guidance from the industry, like we received their comments now. And this is actually starting off the process because it's the whole county code is complex. And once we hear back from more details from the staff, it will clarify some of the things which are a little bit generic in here. And I agree that some of the items do need more stricter definition and stricter clarification or standards. I think it is required. We are not the experts. I don't think that we can define that. We can give this task to the people who are experts in that, and when the proposal comes, it's a transparent process. Whenever the staff comes up with the plan, it will be a public document, and we would encourage that everybody makes more comments on that, and together we can come up with something which is acceptable.
Ms. Brenner.
Every time you guys talk about it, it sounds very nice, but it was supposed to be, the original moratorium, all that was supposed to be about unrefined fossil fuel. Now it's about everything. And we are very fortunate in Whatcom County that we have the best facilities of anywhere. And the more we put pressure on these facilities, either cut back or leave entirely, the worse it's going to be, because that stuff's going to go somewhere, and it's probably going to go to Asia or someplace, and then we're going to get all the pollution from that, which is way more pollution we're already getting than what these people do, and they do a real good job. I don't think we should push this forward right now.
Further discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion, a second, do we? Yes. Yeah. Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
That passes 5-1 with Ms. Brenner opposed and Mr. Bird excused. Next item up is council appointments to boards, commissions and committees and appointments to the Whatcom County Wildlife Advisory Committee, term ending December 31st, 2022. One applicant, Sharon Crozen. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move appointment.
Buchanan moves for appointment. Is there a second?
Second.
Boland seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Bird excused. Next item up is introduction items. And just for clarification, Madam Clerk, I understood there was someone else who applied for the Planning Commission this morning. You familiar with that?
I'm not sure. I didn't see that, so they may have, but this is just introduction, so this starts the clock for other people to apply if they'd like
Right,
to,
right.
so.
And we have the 1 week rule that they've got to apply a week before we vote.
Correct.
Correct, yeah, okay, so, right. So do I have a motion to introduce? Norman, you seconding?
Number 4 was tabled for introduction. It's not being introduced.
Ah,
And there was another one that we're not,
I believe that number 4 was a substitute version for introduction this evening.
yeah, but I thought in committee, we said we didn't want to go ahead with it right now.
No, I don't, that's,
Well, wasn't this the one that, that Amy and Nick?
No, that's the chapter 20.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's
Okay,
different.
Good,
order,
all right.
so, all right, so
It's all that.
you're,
But also, wasn't there another, the one for the Lake Whatcom utility?
which is the,
Wasn't
that's
that it?
also just on for introduction.
Right, but it's not in here.
It's in one of these.
Yeah, it's in one of those, that's what I'm saying, it should be added.
It's just for that's just for information only, just so that you had all the most current applications.
I understand, but where is it under introduction?
about this one?
It's the last one, number 6.
do you know the
Number
one?
6? We don't have a number 6 in our packet.
Oh, that was
It's-
it.
That's what I'm saying,
It was added
Yeah.
with a revision notice.
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. But don't we
Here.
have to? I know, but don't we have, it was added, so shouldn't it be added?
It's added.
It's now it says
It
6
is
here. I
added.
didn't
It
notice
is added.
Yeah, in our packet, it's not there, so I'm just saying,
Our
aren't
packet-
we supposed to say number 6 has been added, or not?
I'm sorry, I thought that red said numbers 1 through 6, meaning that
Oh.
was included.
I'm sorry, I thought you said 1 through 5.
For clarity, we are introducing items 1 through 6.
Okay,
The last one, which is not in the packet, is a receipt of applications for the Whatcom County Lake Whatcom Stormwater Utility Advisory Committee. Applicants are Lawrence Brown, Joseph Baldwin, Chris Kellard, Peter Dobney. Committee will represent ratepayers in Lake Whatcom Stormwater Utility Service Area and advise Whatcom County Public Works staff and Whatcom County Council on recommended rate structure options and fund mechanisms. Application for any other applicants to this vacancy is 10 a.m. May 1st, 2018. Ms. Brenner.
there were 2 more applicants that came, that were given to us today. I thought they were supposed to be added too.
They are added, I believe they were given to you in a yellow covered.
I know, yeah. So
sheet.
those are added too. You didn't mention them.
Have the names and I'll mention them.
Yep.
I remember Nancy, I can't remember
I
the other
know.
guy. Here it is.
So,
Says,
Names are right on the front.
There'll be more coming in too.
oh, I see. Ellen,
I know.
Elianak and Enoch Ledet. Sorry, Nancy Elianak and Enoch Ledet.
Those are easy ones.
Yeah, definitely
Can I
easy.
can I ask a question about one of the introduction items?
Yes.
Item 5, who'd we get that from?
That's from the county auditor, and it's just bringing language from the charter into the code.
That's what I figured.
Further discussion on the introduction items?
Can I get who moved that? I'm sorry, I missed it. To introduce.
I think Mr.
Todd
Donovan
moved it, and then we never did get a second.
I second it.
Buchanan
Second
and
your own
Donovan.
motion.
Oh, you moved it and then I seconded it.
What are you guys
I did not move it.
Oh, okay, then I move introducing these 6 items.
I'll second it.
Okay, so Mr. Donovan moved it, Mr. Sadoo seconded it. Any further discussion? Bernard, did you have something to, relevant to? Okay. All right. Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Bird excused. Committee reports, Special Committee of the Whole. Today we had discussion regarding proposed ordinance repealing Ordinance 2018-01, 2018-05, and adopting code amendments to the comprehensive plan. And then we had a further discussion and resolution recognising the roles and duties of the Whatcom County Warrawan Planning Unit, and that item was held in committee, if I remember correctly. And later in the afternoon, we had Special Committee of the Whole, again discussing the amendments to the Whatcom County Code, Title II, Administration Personnel, Title IX, Public Peace and Morals and Welfare, Title 15, Building and Construction, Title 16, Environment, Title 20, Zoning, Title 21, Land Division Regulations, Title 23, Shoreline, Title 24, Health, and creating a new Title 22, Land Use. I won't read the whole thing out. That was it for, and then we had a resolution requesting the county executive to direct staff to draft proposed legislation regarding the processing of major project permits, which we have voted on this evening.
That was already discussed and voted.
Yes, which we voted on this evening. So the next item up is finance. Was there anything else from finance?
Yes, from the Finance and Administrative Services Committee, we had 3 presentations. The first one was from Ski to Sea Race, and they have over 120 plus teams already. This year, they're getting 35 more teams, and their goal is that soon, next couple of years, they will have team from every state in the United States, and I propose that we should have team from every continent in Bellingham. I think it's a great event, and put Bellingham, Whatcom County on the world map. So we had a report, and the county supports this event along with the city. The second presentation we had from Whatcom Tourism, and the highlight is that the tourism brings in $590 million to our economy annually. And that's another thing which has put Bellingham in the world map and a destination place that people from all over the world like to come to our county for recreation and other activities. The third report we had from the Human Resources semi-annual report, and I think the highlight is that they have a great training program for the employees or other people who would like to attend, and their cost is $13 an hour, a training cost, which is very, very competitive as compared to if we have to send 2 or 3 employees to Seattle or some other conference or a seminar, which could cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I think that's a great achievement, and keeps our employees sharp and up to date to the current practices. Thank you.
Yeah, and then in the Committee of the Whole, we did a executive session discussing a potential property acquisition or acquisitions. Next up was Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a presentation from District Court. It was their annual report. Talked about probation. We talked about electronic home monitoring, and did everybody receive that spreadsheet that Bruce said he was going to send out that gives us some more details? And we talked about the pre-trial risk assessment program that we're just starting to enter into. It just kind of echoes what Executive Lau said tonight about implementing technology to streamline things, and we're doing it throughout all county offices. So it was a great report.
Okay, and then Public Works.
Presentation from Safe Storage PNW. and this was a very excellent presentation about having storage units available for people who are homeless and have items that they want to put in a safe place so they're not stolen from them. And I reported for Public Works and Health Committee and moved to get more information from the administration and request that the administration consider county property that may be appropriate for locating storage lockers for the homeless population as proposed in the Safe Storage PNW program. It is passed in committee 3-0, and that's my motion. I would like to see the council pass this.
Right. So,
Getting my committees mixed up, but I
Oh,
support
the other thing will come in the other
Oh, okay.
committee, right?
making a motion now?
Yep, that's my motion.
Second for the motion?
it was approved in committee.
It was approved in committee.
Any discussion? Discussion?
The point was to direct staff, and I
We're
think- I
requesting.
think we're on page for.
We can request staff to
Yeah.
send, we can't direct them.
Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously with Mr. Byrd, 6-0 with Mr. Byrd excused, and I trust the clerk got the motion correctly. Yep. Next up was planning.
County executive and deputy executive provided an update on homeless issues, and I reported for the Planning and Development Committee and moved to request that staff create ordinances to amend the county code to allow tiny home projects for the homeless. And this passed in committee 2-0. Councilmember Byrd got sick and had to leave. I have no doubt he would have supported it, but I shouldn't say that, so I'm not going to. But there was nobody opposed in committee. So I move this also.
Moved, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that passes 6-0 with Mr. Byrd excused.
2-0. Oh, yeah, you're right, sorry.
Any other items? Any
I was
council?
other items and council member updates mixed up, but I'll start with other items. Okay.
Another item from Mr. Donovan.
Well, no, I'm gonna,
Yeah, you
do we just go down the row here? I don't want to
We
jump.
on other items?
Or,
Yeah.
do you mean other council items or other items?
Council member updates, where are we?
We're on other items.
I don't have any other items.
That's not what you mean. You
I
mean
don't.
others.
Maybe I have an update or items, I don't know, I never know which. But I'll wait till it's my
We'll
turn.
make allowances for your age. There we are.
I just have a council member update. I can start and we
I-
can
oh,
go
you
this way.
started that.
We're still on other items. Do you have another item?
No, I don't have another
No,
item.
Mr. Donovan.
I will call them updates.
Call
Okay,
it whatever.
call it updates. Member updates? I'll start
Let's
then.
go this way.
I'll-
Whatever.
I think the highlight last week was that on Saturday, we had the unveiling ceremony for the Arch of Healing. It's been a project that I've been working for over 10 years, and especially last 4 years actively, and it was a great event, well attended by almost, I think, 500 people. I'm very thankful to our county executive, Jack Laus, being there, Kelly Linwell for her support, and President of Western, Dr. Ndava was our keynote speaker, and his wife spoke really well on the unity of our community, and she came up with the slogan, "Hello, fellow human being." And they made actually decals for your cars, and they distributed that. I think it's a great spirit to close the gap, whatever gaps we may have. And it's a great memorial. The whole project has been in the positive light that we don't want to look back, but we should look forward, learn from our past, and make a commitment that we do better next time around. It's a beautiful arch. It weighs 20,000 pounds. It was the stone actually came from India. It was sculptured in China, and it was polished in Canada, and finally installed in the United States. So a lot of people, a lot of hands touched it, and everything went just perfect, because when you get, it's 3 solid pieces. Each piece weighs about 5,000 pounds or more, and to see that fit together finally on the site, that was a great worry, but everything worked very well. And I thank all the community, sport and people who came at the unveiling. And when I've been going by, there are always 5 or 10 people standing and reading about the plaques and everything. I think that's a great thing for our community. And thanks for the support from the council. Thank you.
Thank you for doing it. So, Mr. Donovan.
Now I wish we went the other way because my updates aren't as inspiring as Mr. Sadoo's. No, but a couple things I just want to make sure everybody's tracking here. So Wednesday last week we had the start of the public process for the Lake Whatcom Stormwater Utility District. We had a meeting, probably Councilmember Byrd and I were there, and maybe 40, 50 people from the public. So it looks like there's it'll be a robust public process, and we're still looking for applications for that committee. Mike Hoffman mentioned that there was the Incarceration Reduction and Prevention Task Force, which is just too many letters, had one of the work groups that had a really interesting meeting last week where we had Superior Court judges, District Court judges, commissioners, people from the prosecutor's office, probation, trying to figure out how to come up with an assessment tool to potentially keep people, reduce incarceration, just have a better way to predict, who's safe to have on pretrial release. And the update part of that is that's potentially going to be a budget request at some point. I think that's one of the things, we told the task force come to us with stuff, and so trying to figure out the cost of that. And speaking of costs, the Lummi Island Ferry Advisory Committee has been working for a long time. We heard a bit about this today earlier, but Rob and Roland and the committee they're going to be coming to us probably with something I guess I'll be introducing because I'm on the committee, with a proposal for, not when we call it LOS as just a level of service kind of acronym, it's like, how do we fund a new ferry? What's that ferry going to be? How big is it going to be? That's the sort of stuff that.
Where is it going to be?
Where is it going to be? Yeah, they're working on that. There's a work group meeting on that, and there's a consultant that's been involved with this. Tomorrow at 6, I think, just across the street here. But that's not going to be that far off when you're going to be hearing about what the actual proposal is. So just keeping those budget things on our radar here.
Saturday, I attended the Whatcom Dairy Ambassador Coronation, and I know some of you have been to one or two, but it is different every year. And I always go, and it's very amazing what great speakers these young people are. I'm just always so impressed, and it's also one of those times when you are surrounded by the dairy community, which is also fun. So I encourage people to, even if you've been there before, to attend them because they're just amazing. It inspired the rest of my day. It's still inspiring me. So there you have it.
Nothing from me?
I got 2 things. Busy week last week. On Monday, I went on a little field trip with Mayor Linville and the mayor of Mount Vernon and a couple of their city council members and some staff. We went down again, this is my second trip to Seattle, to take a look at some of the homeless services that they're doing in Seattle. This was a little different trip. The first trip I made probably a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, the tiny home village was on some port property that was leased by the city, and it was a pretty abandoned area. They had no water. They had porta potties and delivered water. This time, it was a smaller 15-unit little village that was plopped right in the middle of a neighborhood, which I found fascinating, and asked a lot of questions on the processes that they went through to be able to to move forward. Now, this was a church-sponsored, they owned the land, and it was same story, though, very well managed. They talked about the crime rate in that area has gone down since that, I think it was 2 or 3 years now it's been in operation, because they essentially have a neighborhood watch extra body out roaming the area when their security for the tiny home village is out. We also visited a planned housing unit. It was for seniors, homeless seniors and veterans. It was done by, all these projects were done by Lehigh, which is the Low Income Housing Institute in Seattle. And the third thing we saw was what they call an urban rest stop. And it's an area where you walk in, they have washers and dryers. They have staff that's handing out Dixie cups of laundry soap for one use. They have restrooms, they have showers. So it's a place for people who, need to freshen up, need to do their laundry. They have a place to go, no charge. They have 3 of them throughout the Seattle area. I'd love for us to look at something like that here in Bellingham. The second thing I wanted to talk about was the jail. Mr. Kaufman has been at both of our sessions so far, which is the criminal justice listening tours. We've had 2. We've had one in Deming and one in Linden. We have one that's going to be a week from tonight, right here in council chambers at 7 p.m. Hope everybody can come out, and we'd love, the committee, Mr. Sadhu and Mr. Byrd and I would love to hear all your comments and what you feel about criminal justice in Whatcom County.
Mrs. Brennan.
I just wanted to add, he showed me the pictures of the tiny house neighborhood that was put inside the other neighborhood. They're so cute. I think it was kind of an addition to the neighborhood, because these are really adorable, and I just thought they were special.
Anything else for council? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.